So most of you know by now that I escaped a cult, and I think what our brain does to protect us from some of the trauma is we forget a lot of what happened. Also, we're like sponges, particularly if you grew up in the same cult that I did, the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. You are so sheltered and protected. When you leave, there's so much you soak in. You're constantly exhausted for the first, 6, 12 months because you all of a sudden have internet, radio, music, books, and a lot of the memories are suppressed. Now, you guys have like some amazing questions, and I really appreciate it because it digs up a lot of memories. Now, I forgot how strict and bizarre the funerals were. So one of you have made a comment which your friend had a dad that was her dad was excommunicated, and her mum got to go to dad's funeral but had to stand alone. Is this common? Yes, it is. So because I've been excommunicated, now it's different because I'm speaking up and talking about the cult. I'm now branded an opposer, which is a different level of excommunication. There's just, there's brethren in their eyes and outsiders, and then excommunicated, and then opposers, which is like down here with the devil. So if my mother died, I would be invited to the funeral if I wasn't an opposer, but only to the graveside part of the funeral. And I would be asked to stand back. And I remember being on the flip side of that as a kid when an older guy died. His kids that were outside of the cult, that had left, that were excommunicated, were invited to come to the graveside. But then on arrival are told to go and stand a certain distance to mark a visual, literal representation of the separation rule they have, 2 Timothy 2, where it's like, let him that names the name of the Lord withdraw from iniquity. So they are very, very superstitious, I've said, but literal. So they will mark this position, like this area whereby you have to go and stand alone if you are an outsider, because you aren't with us. You don't get the privileges that we have. But because obviously I'm an opposer, I won't even be allowed or told of the funeral. Now, I know somebody who was an opposer. When we were in, his nephew committed suicide. Yes, there are people in there that commit suicide, even though they don't like to call it that. They say, no, the Lord got to him first before the devil did, so it wasn't suicide. But that's another story. And they were afraid he was going to turn up, the excommunicated opposer. So they hid his funeral date and had it in a different church location, and even buried him in a different town so that it wouldn't, they wouldn't find it out, the family members on the outside. So yes, that is another bizarre thing in the cult, the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church cult. If you've been excommunicated, and you're invited to the funeral, you have to stand back like a gangster under a tree to maintain this false idea of separation that they have in their minds. Thanks for your questions, guys.